Most manufacturers can tell you their revenue to the dollar. Ask them what it actually costs to produce one unit. And suddenly it gets very quiet in the room. COGS, cost of goods sold, isn't just materials plus labor. It's the single number that tells you where your margin is actually going. And if you're calculating it wrong, everything downstream is wrong too. Your pricing, your capacity decisions, your profitability calls, all of it. In 2026, with margins tighter than they've been in years, that's not just a reporting error. That's a strategic blind spot, and it's an expensive one. Let's start with materials, and I want to make an important distinction here. We're not talking about what you purchased. We're talking about what you actually used. Those are two very different numbers. If your bill of materials accuracy is below 95%, your material cost per unit is essentially made up. Scrap, rework, overconsumption, they're all quietly inflating your real cost while your spreadsheet is telling you a completely different story. The best manufacturers don't estimate this. They track material cost at the BOM level, per production order, per line, exact consumption, every time. This is where I see most manufacturers get it wrong. Direct labor. It's not your total headcount cost. It's productive hours only. There's a big difference. If your operators are spending 30% of their shift on rework, that's a direct labor cost that belongs in your COGS. If your line is sitting idle during changeovers, that idle time has a real cost, and it belongs in your calculation too. So stop asking, how many people do I have on the floor? Start asking, how many productive minutes am I actually paying for? That's the number that matters. Now this is the silent margin killer. And it's where small and mid-sized manufacturers consistently get themselves into trouble. Manufacturing overhead covers everything that doesn't fit neatly into materials or labor. Machine depreciation, allocated per unit per production hour. Energy cost broken down by line and by shift. Maintenance, both planned and unplanned, spread across your production volume. And quality control labor, inspection time, testing, certifications. All of it. Here's the mistake I see constantly. Most SMEs either throw a flat percentage at overhead, or worse, they don't allocate it at all. So their COGS looks clean. Their margin looks healthy. And then a machine breaks down. Or energy costs spike. Or a quality issue triggers a rework wave. And suddenly that margin they thought they had just evaporates. Overhead absorption isn't an accounting exercise. It's a survival discipline. So the formula itself is simple. Opening inventory plus purchases minus closing inventory. You've seen it before, but the real work is what's feeding that formula underneath. In manufacturing, you've got 3 cost layers running simultaneously: direct materials, direct labor, and overhead. If any one of them is off, your gross margin is a number you simply can't trust. All right, here's your exercise. You're running a German automotive plant. Compact passenger vehicles mid-segment. You're producing 1,000 units a month. Here's your data. Opening inventory, 4.2 million euros. Raw material purchases, 8.5 million euros. Closing inventory, 3.9 million euros. On labor, your assembly line runs 18 productive hours per vehicle at 62 euros, 40 cents an hour. And heads up, your rework rate is 22% of total hours. That number matters. For overhead, your monthly totals are robot depreciation, 320,000 euros, energy, 180,000 euros, maintenance, 95,000 euros, QC labor, 65,000 euros, and paint shop compliance, 40,000 euros. Total overhead, 700,000 euros a month. Your mission: calculate the real COGS per vehicle. And make sure you account for the impact of that rework rate on your labor cost. That's where most people get tripped up. Pause here, work through it, and I'll walk you through the full solution right after. Okay, let's walk through it step by step. Step 1, materials. Opening inventory of 4.2 million euros plus purchases of 8.5 million euros minus closing inventory of 3.9 million euros. That gives you 8.8 million euros in total material costs for the month. Divide by 1,000 vehicles, 8,800 euros per vehicle. Clean and straightforward. Step 2, labor. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. On paper, 18 productive hours at 62 euros, 40 cents an hour gives you 1,123 euros per vehicle. Looks fine. But your rework rate is 22%. That means your operators aren't actually spending 18 hours building. They're spending a chunk of that time fixing. So your real consumed hours are 18 divided by 0.78. That's 23.1 hours per vehicle. At 62 euros 40 cents an hour, your real labor cost is 1,441 euros per vehicle, not 1,123 euros. That's 318 euros per vehicle hidden inside your rework. Step 3, overhead. Simple one. 700,000 euros total for the month, divided by 1,000 units. That's 700 euros per vehicle. Step 4, let's bring it all together. Materials at 8,800 euros. Labor at 1,441 euros. Overhead at 700 euros. Your real COGS per vehicle, 10,941 euros. That's your number. Not an estimate, not a flat average. The actual cost to put one vehicle out the door, with rework accounted for, overhead properly absorbed, and real material consumption in the formula. Now you can price with confidence. Now you can spot where the margin is leaking. And now you know exactly what needs to improve first. Now let's look at what happens if you don't correct for rework. Without that adjustment, your COGS looks like 8,800 euros plus 1,123 euros plus 700 euros. That's 10,623 euros per vehicle. Seems reasonable, but the real number is 10,941 euros. That's a 318 euros gap per vehicle. Across 1,000 units a month, 318,000 euros in hidden cost every single month. Annualized, that's 3.8 million euros in untracked loss. And here's the part that should really bother you. Nobody stole it. Nothing broke. It's just sitting there invisible, in a rework rate that never made it into the cost model. That's the COGS blind spot. And honestly, it lives in almost every automotive plant we walk into. So how do you fix it? Here's exactly what we do at H&G Consulting. First, validate your BOM accuracy to within 2%. If your material consumption per unit isn't that precise, your entire cost foundation is shaky. Second, separate your productive hours from your rework hours. They are not the same thing and they cannot live in the same line item. Third, build a proper overhead absorption model. Every cost, depreciation, energy, maintenance, QC allocated per unit per line. Not a flat percentage, not a guess. And fourth, YINT. Every single month, reconcile your standard cost against your actual cost. That variance isn't just a number to explain away. It's your improvement roadmap. It tells you exactly where to focus next. Get these 4 steps right and everything downstream gets sharper. Here's the bottom line. If you can't tell right now what is your actual cost to produce one unit with real numbers, you're managing your margin by assumption. And in 2026, that's a risk you can't afford to take. At H&G Consulting, we help manufacturers build the cost visibility frameworks that turn guesswork into confident pricing and smarter operational decisions. If you want to know where your operation really stands, go to hng-consulting.com and grab your free operations assessment. Visit hng-consulting.com. Link is in the description. See you in the next one.